Hey, welcome to Lift with me, Microcurrent. This is a complimentary kind of free session working with the Lift Microcurrent Probe by Jane Mann. And have my attachment with the little balls because every now and then I like to use them independently. The microcurrent probe is a universal probe that goes with all machines. And so today we are going to start out working on the face. And I asked some of the people online what they wanted to start with. They really want to work on the jowl area. Now, the jowl area is a concern for a majority of people. As we get older, we start to see a puffiness along our jawline, and this starts to make us look older than we actually feel. And so the first notion for an esthetician is to just go address this jawline, because visually this is where we see the problem. But what we don't realize is many times jowls is actually kind of the cause of a tight rib cage as well as tight arms. As estheticians, if you're in this industry and you're watching this video, we're working with our arms all the time. You can see when I come over, and if I'm behind a bed, we can already see my shoulders are coming forward. And what we're not considering, though, is the connective tissue fascia. And fascia is kind of a omnidirectional type of fiber network in the body that kind of goes through everything. And so the fascia is going to twine, because this is what I do. The fascia is spiraling around and it's adhering to my bones, and it's adhering at a 2,000 pound per square inch. So now you can kind of see this turning of my arms, this kind of coming in of my shoulders. And what happens is my rib cage starts to come forward. And so all of this is kind of creating a tightness, and this creates a kind of a forward pronation of the face and tightens all of the neck, and this traps the lymph. So when we start thinking about this, and I know this is a long-winded way, Jane, how does this have to do with the lift? Well, we really have to get in and incorporate some other modalities when working the jowl area. The face is a representation of what's going on. And if you've listened to other videos, you know that I talk about posture, bite, and flexibility. And it's actually really posture, bite, and fascia, because all of this is intertwined. So if you're really looking to address the jawline, we're going to have to do types of exercises that we can incorporate later to open up all of the lymphatic flow. In the meantime, let's use the tools that we have. We're going to start out with the ANMA. And I want to kind of go right in to this area. And this is where the sternocleidomastoid kind of meets the occiput. And we're just going to apply a lot of pressure. So just kind of holding the handle. Now tilt your head into it. This is not a comfortable position, nor should it be. If you feel a little bit of tension here, we know that there's a restriction there. We know that there's an adhesion there. And this is where the lymphatic flow goes down. So we really just kind of want to hold our head. So we're just kind of pressing into this handle, and let's just kind of gently roll into this area. And you can just start to feel, some of you might get like a little headache. You may feel like a little tension. You might feel it in the occiput or even in the scalp, but we're just going to hold here. And as we're holding, I want you to kind of take into account, how are you sitting? Are you slunched over? Where is your core? And how are you breathing? So I really want you to now kind of focus on, while you're pressing into this little area, I want you to expand your belly when you're taking an inhale, really from the lower part of the belly. And the exhale, I want you to draw it in. And this starts to activate the diaphragm. The diaphragm is a muscle that kind of is nestled, in that waist area, and it moves up and down. But when we breathe really out of our upper core, we're not utilizing that muscle and we're not getting as much oxygen as we possibly can. So as we're trying to kind of release this adhesion that blocks the lymphatic flow, we want to bring as much oxygen as we can. And as we incorporate this diaphragmatic breathing, we actually bring up to 600% more oxygen and blood flow to this tissue. So we're just going to start to kind of push our head into this handle, kind of rocking back and forth. I'm going to do this for another minute. You might find as you come closer to the jawline, there's a little bit more of a discomfort. And again, these are just adhesions. You know, that fascia kind of comes up as we talked about the rib cage and the arms. It loves to entwine around bone. And so sometimes it pulls this bone back. And so as we tweak into the corner of that unit, you can kind of nod your head up and down. You might find that it's slightly a little bit tender. And we're going to take another like 3 breaths for 1, 2, 3, 4 on the inhale, kind of holding and exhaling out. 2, 3, 4. And go ahead and inhale one more time. Inhaling 1, 2, expanding from that belly. And that exhale, pulling that tummy in. For a lot of people, this is just really uncomfortable. It's retraining our breathing muscles. And now let's just go ahead, kind of flow this down. And let's go all the way to the other side. And again, I'm taking it right to that sternocleidomastoid, kind of I'm holding the unit. You know, so we're really decompressing fascia at this point. We're really trying to create a decompression of the adhesions into this area. And so I'm turning my head, I'm pushing my head into this area. I don't know, you may feel it down your arm. You may feel it in all different spaces. It's really, really common. And I'm just going to tilt my head into this, kind of looking at the clock. We're holding. So anytime that we work the face, if you're an esthetician, this is really a nice type of thing to do with your client. Many times I'll start right underneath the collarbone, right where the carotid artery is going to supply the blood flow to the face. But we need to release adhesions and restrictions because that impedes blood flow and that impedes the blood getting to the cells to nourish them. So we always have to keep in mind what is impeding flow of blood and what is impeding the lymphatic flow to get the very best results when you're working with microcurrent. I mean, microcurrent is an excellent tool for the aesthetic industry, but electricity or the electrons that we're kind of feeding into the skin will always take the path of least resistance. If there is a blockage, they will go around. And that is why we always want to create the most kind of beneficial or the optimal conditions in the skin to create the best results with microcurrent. So we're kind of going down and we're pressing into it. We've held this for about 1.5 minutes. We have another about 1.5 minutes to go. I know it gets a little tedious if you have some place that you can set your elbow. You can brace your elbow if you have a table. You can press into this area with your elbow on the table. But I want you to, again, kind of keep mind of your posture for those that have come up. You really want to keep a straight posture, breathing from that lower belly, exhaling into the spine, inhaling out, exhaling into the spine. We're pressing into the handle of the anma, really creating a compression of that tissue, kind of rolling your neck back and forth, finding those tender areas, and where it's tender, going ahead and holding in that area. Maybe you want to nod. You know, fascia's adhesion to the bone is almost magnetic. And so when you think about two magnets together, when you want to pull them apart, it's a little bit tougher, but when we spiral them apart, they come apart. So that's kind of the visual of the fascia onto the bone. We're just kind of turning our head, creating little movements to loosen up those adhesions. And we're going to go ahead and hold for about one more breath, kind of expanding that belly out for 4, and holding and bringing it, exhaling it out. Now, something that's really interesting is when we are doing this and we're exhaling, we're decompressing the fascia. When we exhale almost 70% more toxins out. So when you're working with your clients and we are just kind of trying to release the tissue, we really want to encourage that client to breathe through the whole sessions. So now we've kind of decompressed the sternocleidomastoid, the attachment to the occiput, just kind of moving the head. And let's go ahead and start on the circulation or the tissue aspect of whatever you're using. Most of you are using the picotoners. So you would start at program 2. If you're using the Lift by Jane Mann, you would start at program 1. That is program 1. I have programmed for fascia. Program 2, I have programmed for muscle. So we're going to go through it, and we're going to go ahead and let's just kind of brush down with the unit. We're just going to kind of go all the way down the area. We're just starting to wake up that tissue. Just kind of starting right where we were on that sternocleidomastoid, kind of coming down. And go ahead and exaggerate the movement with the neck. You might just kind of feel the current going down, going underneath that jaw and over to the side. Now let's go ahead and work this jowl area. I'm going to take the top 4. I'm just going to kind of brushing aside. And I'm going to just go all the way down. So we're just going to start to kind of clear that lymph. And we were talking about earlier, we were going to work on the jaw area, and there's so much that goes into just this jowl area. So when your client comes to you and their biggest concern is their jowl, you need to take a couple considerations into what their intake sheet does and what they do as a living. If they're behind a computer the whole time, they're sitting down, you really want to start looking at the posture of the client, the lifestyle of the client. You know, are they another esthetician? Are they a massage therapist, a nurse? Again, all of these type of careers require lifting of the arms, and this is a shortening of that platysma muscle, and that is a shortening of the neck, and that's kind of a pushing forward and a rolling forward in the way the body compensates for these type of careers. Now go ahead and let's just take the 2. We're just going to hold it on the 2 points. And so a lot of times, you know, what you've learned in my classes, you know, we've laid on yoga blocks, we've opened up the thoracic region, we've opened up the décolleté. If you've taken a class more recently, I've introduced you to block therapy, which I'll put in the link here. There are a lot of different ways that you can assist your client in literally changing their face by incorporating body treatments. We're going all the way out to the jaw. And I'm not saying that microcurrent alone won't do that, but if you really want to make substantial results that last, incorporating some type of body therapy in with the microcurrent is going to give you the biggest wow effect. I'm going to kind of hold. Again, what we're doing is we're forcing circulation into this area. And that blood flow is what carries out the toxins. and we're moving that just into the lymph area. So let's go ahead and start on the other side. You can already see that there's almost a change just in that jawline area. So I'm just kind of holding and I'm just brushing out. And then I'm going down, kind of following the lymphatic pathways. And all of this is still just on your connective tissue program. Okay, down. And after this, we're going to just kind of turn the probe onto its side, and we're going to kind of, it's almost like cross-hatching electrons. So we've just kind of got right underneath, and we're just kind of holding. And now I want you to think about the pressure is probably like in between a 1 and a 2, and just moving though the probe along that tissue. I want you just to kind of drag slowly. And coming down. And again, just kind of dragging slowly. And coming down. Let's just come back and hold. So I'm going to take all of the 4 and I'm just going to hold in this area. And we're going to hold it for about 2 minutes, just in this area alone. What we're doing is we're just kind of creating a scenario that those electrons can go into the skin. So we really we warmed up the tissue, we moved some fluid out, we started with the anma, decompressing some of the adhesions. Now the electrons have a little bit more space to kind of explore, going all through the lighter tissue right now. And this is just really great for kind of warming up circulation into the tissues, creating blood flow. And then what we're going to do after we kind of finish this side and this side, we're going to go in and we're going to switch our program to muscle. And then we're going to work muscle in that area. And that's kind of how we're going to address the face, is we're going to be alternating between programs this time, instead of just working one program and then finishing up with another. So we've got about another minute that we're holding this. And it's just kind of a nice stagnant hold. And it's one of my favorite things about this unit is just energy consumption alone. Just being able to hold one probe is nice. If you work with 2 probes in the treatment room, you can easily do this on both sides of the face at the same time. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to go right to those 2 points. And you should almost feel the energy in that kind of jaw. And we're just going to drag this along. Again, just as though we just kind of created all of this circulation, all of this activity in the cells, the surface cells, and we're just going to kind of come down. Now let's go to the other side. We're just going to be holding. Again, looking at the clock, we're just kind of holding in this area. Microcurrent is just almost like a direct antioxidant, just feeding that, pairing those free radicals with an extra electron, going in, charging the ATP with the hydrogen, creating blood flow and circulation and nourishment, just really giving the skin a more youthful appearance. So Yvonne, are you an esthetician or a consumer?
I'm just a consumer. I'm the person who's obsessed with you.
Oh, good. Well,
The one who ordered the Pico and then the 2 lifts and the Anmas, and I just think you're amazing.
oh, well, thanks. Well, I'm
I'm
glad
a
you.
software person, and we need this more than you could imagine. So you can add us into your ideas of how to help people.
Well, I have a new series starting on YouTube and Instagram, I think this week, that's really going to be addressing, it's really made for the consumer. I think the professional will enjoy it, but it's called More Than Skincare. And it's really going in and trying to get people to think a little bit differently than New Beauty or Cosmopolitan or even a lot of the influencers have you believing. And I'm really hoping that it's as successful as I feel it's going to be. So I'm glad you're on. Okay, so now we're going to switch our program to a muscle building, and we're going to do something real similar. But just in kind of sitting with this, I know I feel my face, I just feel a lot of energy down here. And now we're going to kind of switch it up. Let's go to the muscle. We're using this to tone the muscle, but we're also using it to create miniature action potentials or miniature little pulses in this area. And again, this kind of flushes out all the toxins that I address here. If you really start studying the jowl area, women should not be getting jowls till they're 70. Now we get jowls for so many reasons, but the main reason is that we get trapped lymph in this area. Also, our diet and the size of our fat cell add to the skin's capacity that it can't hold the weight. So if we have like a diet that's high in saturated fats and in sugar and in Diet Cokes, the cell gets bloated. And the best example to me is like thinking of a jumbo marshmallow versus a mini marshmallow. When the fat on the face, we really want to think of it as many lines of like mini, several lines of mini marshmallows. But when we have a diet that is not optimal, it ends up being one row of jumbo marshmallows. And then the fat cell stops communicating with the collagen and the elastin. And that stopping of the making of collagen and elastin makes that skin break down, and we see fluid collect in there. And we also start to see the loss of adhesion. So you can start to see diet plays a huge role in how our cells communicate to the fibroblasts to create collagen and elastin. But so does the fat cell. That's not ever been researched until just recently, that the fat cell is a primary communicator to the fibroblasts for the collagen and elastin. So what we're going in here is we're just starting to kind of create little muscle impulses down in this area. And this is going to force that lymph out even more. Now, microcurrent does not, at least from what we know, have an effect on the fat cell. So it could charge maybe the energy of it, but it does not have a direct link to making it small. We're kind of pushing it out. So Nicole, are you an esthetician or a consumer?
I'm an esthetician.
Great. And where are you located?
I'm in Washington State in the seaside town of Edmonds.
Okay, good. Now the girls, I know you. Jennifer, I feel like you're an esthetician, but I'm not sure. You're not you, Miss Jen. I see you, Jennifer, with your camera off. Oh, that's okay. Well, it's fun to have you guys here. I love doing the lives when I can see you, because I can see you.
I am an esthetician, Jennifer Mayhow. Is that who you're looking at?
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. Yeah.
Yes, I am an esthetician and I have all of your stuff. And you're fantastic.
Well, thanks. Oh, thanks. What machine are you using?
I have the Pico Wave for now. I've had it only about a year. And so I'm getting ready to upgrade.
You're gonna hold. What are you gonna upgrade to?
Whatever that next level was it the 3800?
Yeah, or the Pico Wave is good.
That must be it. I have the smallest professional unit.
Okay. So is it blue and little, or is it the white box?
No, I have the white box.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. I like that little machine.
It's been amazing. I can't believe this is my 30th year in practice, and I didn't do my basic education in this country. And I knew about that. My school had KC microcurrent,
Okay.
but it was a separate course and it wasn't FDA approved at the time in America. So I didn't take it. So I've only really started doing microcurrent recently. So you were a godsend to find, just to be able to kind of catch up on all the information in microcurrent. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. I love it. Okay, let's go to the other side now. And we're just going to holding with the 4. So when you're kind of doing this, whether you're doing this on yourself or you're doing on your client, I do keep bringing up breath. And it's really kind of guiding your client into breathing, because the breath is the oxygen that kind of fuels the cells and the blood. And the more that we can increase our oxygen and our blood flow, the better microcurrent works, because we're getting that hydration. And we talked earlier that, electricity takes the path of least resistance. And if you have a bunch of fascial adhesions, these adhesions are going to block those electrons from working. So one thing I like to kind of get people to think about is, let's consider fishnet stockings. And now you pull that fishnet stocking on your leg, right? And when you pull it up, it's really smooth. And so you see the holes in the skin, and let's pretend those are cells. And now you've got the fishnet fabric. That is fascia. And that is exactly what fascia does. Fascia organizes the cells, creating optimal space for the proper nutrients, for proper communication, for proper everything. Everything operates best when it's in its space and it's in its flow. Now I want you to take that same fishnet stocking that's on your leg, and I want you to twist it. I want you to spiral it inward on that thigh. And now think about how that fabric starts to spiral and it starts to crowd, right? And we don't see the skin as perfectly as we saw it when that stocking was aligned. That's what fascia does to the cells. The cells no longer get communication. So when you're doing microcurrent over fascial adhesions, we're not reaching the cells like we need to. And so you've heard me start talking about fascia, I think, since 2013. And now I'm even getting more and more into it, because we have to align the body with it. We can't have one without the other. The head is not just a simple page 32 in Gray's Anatomy and then the décolleté on page 54. It's all connected through this fiber optic network called fascia. So let's go ahead and drag it through. And so in order to get the very best results on yourself or on your clients, we have got to start including body with this. And this is up for, if you're in natural aging, great, you can do this and look phenomenal. But even if your clients want to get a facelift, why correct on an incorrect foundation? If you've got fascial adhesions pulling the head forward and they're going to go in and do a facelift, they're correcting on that incorrect posture. So more than ever, it's time that estheticians start telling the clients that we have to start working the body. So we've kind of worked this jowl area. Let's go to the next section of the face. We're going to switch back over to your program 2. We're going to start working on the tissue. But since we've got our lifts in our hand and not our anmas, what I want you to do is I want you to take this handle and we're going to go underneath this cheekbone and we're going to press. Now again, just kind of like where we did the sternocleo attachment to the occiput, it can be a little tender, and this is always a tender area for a lot of people. So we're kind of holding in here, and as you're holding it, I want you to again push your head into the hand. And you may find that this is again a little bit more tender than what we like. And pain is scary, and people sometimes associate pain with bad. Pain is bad. But what it is really saying, the body is saying is, I need attention. And so we're going in and we're seeking the pain. We're kind of searching for this area. And as we're holding, I want you to kind of gently rock forward. And you may find in this area, there's a lot of adhesion. But this traps, this gives people a lot of times those chipmunk cheeks. This is kind of the bloating of this area. This is the trapping. So we're really kind of going in and we're just decompressing the fascia. We're not releasing the fascia doing this. We're decompressing, creating a force of surge of blood flow. So remember how in Bikram yoga, we would hold a posture, but we only held it for 30 seconds. In true fascia decompression, you want to hold this for up to 3 minutes. And this can be somewhat uncomfortable. So we're just kind of holding in this area. You may want to kind of go forward, kind of going to the side. Whatever you seek kind of that kind of feeling that that's what your body needs. And this is where your intuition kind of comes in. And it's excellent for you to be doing this on yourself. Just kind of holding. We've got another minute and a half. While you're holding, I want you to take note. How are you sitting? Where is your posture? Are you standing? How are your shoulders? Where are you breathing from? Are you breathing from the upper ribs? Are you breathing from the lower belly? And it's so uncomfortable, I think, for our generations. If you're in your 50s and 60s, we just were taught to breathe out of our upper rib cage. We just sucked in our stomach all day long. We didn't utilize that diaphragmatic breathing, but when we breathe from the lower belly, we actually exercise that diaphragm, that muscle, and it moves up and down, and that actually gives us a smaller waistline. So now you're kind of holding. We're going to keep holding for about another 30 seconds. So just concentrate on your blood or your breathing. And if concentrate on the exhale, exhaling all the toxins that are trapped in this tissue that we're kind of releasing. And now just kind of move your hand up and down. Exactly, Amy, you're doing it right. We're just kind of moving some of that tissue, pulling that fascia away from the bone, creating space in this area. I'm going to hold for 5 more seconds and kind of pull this down. Now let's go ahead and let's flow using the collagen and elastin program. This is really great for people that have sinuses, because that sinuses, they just get trapped in that area. Most people have a tight zygomatic ridge area. We see it so many times just with grinding and clenching, and even sleeping compresses that fascia, sleeping on that one side. Let's go ahead and just kind of take the balls underneath, and we're just going to kind of hold this area. And this is just kind of feeding all of the tissue what it needs. So we just created more space in this area. In the fascia release class, we work with our fingers, we work with tools. So we get different types of props for you to use to kind of get the best result, releasing the fascia in the face, as well as kind of releasing the fascial adhesions in the cranial bones. Now let's kind of dragging this over. And let's just hold again. Time always goes so fast when we're doing it together. It's nuts. And let's just drag and go ahead and kind of hold between that corner and the corner of the eye. And let's just kind of drag this really slowly. I'm at probably a light 2. And I'm really just kind of focusing on pulling and dragging anything in this area. Going out all the way. Let's do this just one more time. Kind of holding. So, you know, our whole careers as estheticians, we have learned we were learned and taught, oh, this is microcurrent is the lunchtime facelift. It's going to create, but really microcurrent is so much more. Microcurrent is just such a tool for charging the cell. And, you know, over the past 10 years, we're finally recognizing that the health and the beauty of the skin is really down to the health of the cell. And when the health of the cell is optimal, the tissue is optimal. But we can't just change tissue by putting something on the skin. It doesn't do it. It kind of creates a beautiful cosmetic effect, but it's not the real change. And microcurrent is a tool that creates real change. So kind of take a look at the two sides of the face, and let's go ahead and do the same thing underneath the cheekbone. So I'm kind of going in that little fatty area. I'm pressing in, and then I'm lifting up. And we're just kind of getting into that area. And you find it. Remember, at this point, we're just almost like pain seekers. We're just seeking that mild discomfort. And we're going in and we're starting to compress this hard, ropey look. You know, a great analogy is, I was thinking of this the other day, fascia should look like a spider web, right? That delicate tinsel, just that drippy, dewy, in the sunlight spider web. But many times through fascial adhesions and restrictions, it becomes like a rope. It becomes kind of like a intertwined thick rope. And that thick rope does not pass the communication or help help the cell. It more restricts the cells. So what we're doing when we're kind of pressing in here is we're taking that rope and we're kind of stepping on it, and we're trying to kind of break it up so that the body then can start to release that that ropiness and those adhesions. Then fascial adhesions just don't disappear. They don't go away. They only get worse. So this isn't something that you can go, oh, I'm going to leave it be. I'm just going to let it go. Because as you let it go, it piles up and it piles up. And you've heard me talk about, you know, Gil Healy, and he has this great video on YouTube called Fascia Fuzz. And it just talks about, you know, fuzz just develops every single day. So I think about it as like dust. Have you ever just forgot to dust a lamp or something, and like you did it, you know, a month ago, but then you go back like in a month and it's just full of dust. It just has all of this gross like dust on it. But that's fascia. Every night we go to sleep, it lays down and it creates a stickiness. And if we aren't constantly releasing it, if we aren't constantly, you know, stretching or moving, we become stuck, and our tissues become stuck together and our muscles become stuck together. And then the more we do things, that fascia adheres around that bone, and that just, and it's helping us, but it's adhering to where our posture is. And that's why posture is so important in the aging, because it's if our posture is to the side and coming down, our face and our cranial bones and everything molds, and then the fascia holds that in place. So it really is the responsibility of the client and the consumer to address everything all at once. It's that giant janitorial broom. We're moving along diet, we're moving along, you know, spiritual perspective, we're moving along, you know, the fascia, we're moving along our dental, we're moving along everything at the same place so that we constantly look younger and better. It isn't just one thing. Okay, so we're going to kind of press in a little bit more, rocking, finding that area of adhesion. And now we're going to take the other side with the microcurrent. We're going to be kind of holding this. Yeah, we're going to kind of take this out and hold again. I don't have my mister with me. And let's go ahead and drag. Go ahead and line right at that nose and that eye. Those are two key acupressure points. I'd love to work in there. And we're just going to kind of drag this all around. And now let's go ahead and switch our program to muscle. Put a little bit more gel on my face. And I'm going to hold right in that cheek area. We're sending lots. So when the difference between the programs, so you have program 1 and program 2 on a majority of your machines. And when you have that, the machine is calibrated in how deep the waveform goes. So program 1, it's obviously lighter because we're hitting more epidermal and probably basal layer area. But then program 2, or depending upon your program, the next program is programmed for muscle. So this goes deeper. So this is why you always want to hold muscle a little bit more. Because remember, we don't see the electrons coming out. The electrons are being initiated when the positive and negative are being held on the skin. These electrons are going into the skin, and they've got to fight and maneuver all the impedance of the tissue. And the impedance could be simple as, like we just talked about, fascial or adhesions, or impedance could be oil in the skin. Impedance could be any type of resistance, just that's naturally in that tissue. So I always like to hold longer for muscle, because we've got a process of that electron finding its way and navigating down to the muscle. We're just going to pull all the way back. And now let's just hold crosshatch wise. So I'm going to hold the 4 underneath, and you see how the top two kind of cup in that cheekbone. And that's just one of the neatest things about this unit, is that it just really addresses all angles of the face. And we're just kind of holding. And let's go all the way out a little bit further. Now we're just more cupping that cheekbone and that temple area. I'm holding about 30 seconds, just kind of as a general rule of thumb. And I can guarantee I never do it this long when I'm doing it alone in my mirror. It's just I need you guys as much as you like doing it with me, because I actually do it the way it's supposed to be done. If I'm in my bathroom, I just go, oh, that's enough, I gotta go. Okay, let's go over to the next side. Kind of holding. And keeping it. Let's go ahead and then just kind of drag all the way over. Sometimes you might have one side of the face respond differently. You might feel different twitching or a different sensation. And it's really common. Every side of the face is, each side of the body responds differently to things. And it just, don't waste time thinking about it. It's just a body and how it's responding. And I'm going to drag over. Perfect. And next we're going to turn the probe around, balancing all four, and going in. I'm going to stay on this program when we're done, and we'll work the eye area. And we're just holding. And coming all the way out. All right, so now if you need to put more gel on, put more gel on. The eye area is a little tender, or it's because there's less tissue. Sometimes the strength of your unit has to be adjusted. So I'm going to put it right in between these two, under the brow and the lower part of the orbital rim. And I'm just moving really slow. And this is kind of fun. You can do this in the treatment room with your client. You can do it now if you choose. But sometimes it's fun just to close the eyes. And I want you to kind of, at this time, move your eyes like an analog clock, starting at 12 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And while you're doing that, was there an area or a time that was a little tight or sensitive? And when you're doing that exercise, linger in that spot of where the muscles are tight, the eye muscles that kind of hold the eyeball in. And as you release those, the eyes actually, when the muscles in the eye get tight, it kind of pulls the eye back, and this pulls the front of the face down. And so when you exercise the eyeball, you actually kind of re-lengthen or release the adhesions, and this opens up the upper part of the face. And we're going to go ahead and turn all the way up that brow, holding. Great. Let's go ahead and do the other eye. And holding. And just dragging really slowly. Out to the edge. And wherever you want, close your eyes again. Let's do the eye exercise, looking up at 12. So the eyes are going directly, kind of looking up to the forehead. Let's reverse it this time. Let's go to 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and back up at 12. And see if there's one area that you feel is a little bit tighter and go back and work that area. And at the same time, we're going to lift that outer brow up in the air. And now we're going to take the two ends. I'm going to go right in the corner, and we're just going to hold this area. This is getting that Gabriella region, that's kind of where everybody kind of gets those wrinkles in there. We're just kind of going in and we're forcing blood flow. In another class, we'll kind of work to release the adhesions along that brow bone, but we don't have time today. I think the next class is in, not next week, but the following week. Let's kind of move up all the way to the hairline, and we're going to hold right in that. I'm kind of in the hairline, so you can kind of see I'm partially in the hairline, and we're going to kind of go all the way down to one side, and then we're going to go all the way down to the other side. And just go ahead and move. Kind of feel all of that. And go ahead and move, going to the temple area. And ready, we're going to move down again. Right above that ear. This is a great area. Okay, even kind of lift up in this area. You can feel got a little cranial suture right in there, and get a little bit in there. Holding. And when you're ready, we're going to start back a little bit to the other side. Kind of holding. It's great for blood flow to the scalp, hair. And get ready to move it over. Got TMJ or grinding. It's right in here in this temporalis area. This is a great thing to kind of reduce the inflammation, relax that muscle. And coming down right into that temple. In there. We don't think about the frontalis a lot for lifting up that forehead, but the frontalis muscle actually goes all the way back to the right back of the head, you know, where we lay down. That's the belly of the frontalis. Going ahead and moving it one more time, kind of to that ridge. So we are going to, can't guarantee, I don't know the unit, but if you can get it in there, it's also a great thing to do when your hair is wet, to kind of just go in and work those muscles way back there. So we'll do that in a couple seconds. Just kind of holding it. And let's go all the way to the back, kind of getting that in there. Just kind of holding it. I think we'll hold this for about a minute. Just really, we don't ever get that area. You might find it might sting depending if you're using a stronger unit. Just kind of holding in there. And when we're done with that, we're going to go back and we're going to put it right on the occipital, because we have sinuses back there as well. And the occipital is kind of the location in the neck where the hinge is, where right where you go to put your head back in a shampoo bowl when you get your hair done. So let's go ahead and move right back there, right in that area. And we've got sinuses back there. So if you've got allergies or anything going on, really just kind of stimulating this area, initiating just the flow, lymph. We'll hold it for one more 30 seconds. And when you're ready, let's go ahead and release. And that was Lift With Me today. So if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below. I'm going to turn off the video and answer